Revenge films.
My name is Melissa, and I have a little brother named Kevin. Last month, he proposed to his girlfriend, and he was going to be getting married. He told me that we were going to be having dinner with his fiancé's family and our family for everybody to meet. Because everybody would be off, they chose a holiday week, and the date was already set. Without even asking us if we were available or what our schedules were like, he simply reported to us after it was already decided and told us to be there. Wait, what? You're not even going to ask us about our schedules? It's true that it's a public holiday, so we have the week off every year, but still. It seems like my parents felt the same way I did, but they didn't want to cause any further problems, so none of us said too much to Kevin, and we decided to just abide by his plan. But when Kevin invited us to the family gathering, we realized that the dinner party was going to be food delivered to his fiancé's family house, and the gathering would happen at their house. For our family, we didn't live near the fiancé's family house. It meant that we would have to travel a long way to get there, so all of the preparations and the food costs were going to be borne by his fiancé's family. Based on how my little brother was talking about it, I assumed that that was something he had already discussed and decided with his fiancé's family. However, the problem was that in my industry, public holidays didn't matter, and so I had to ask for a lot of favors in my office, and I was able to get a half day off from work. And my brother Kevin knew how hard it was for me to get the day off, so he apologized for making me do that, but said he was really happy that I would be there. On the day of the gathering, I hurried to finish my work in the morning and directly hopped on the bullet train. I met up with my parents at the destination, and then we all jumped into a rental car and headed to their house. When we arrived, my younger brother was waiting outside of the house with his fiancée by his side. I decided I should greet her first, but when I walked over to her to say hello, the first thing his fiancée Karen said to me was, "What? Hey, Kevin, what is your sister doing here? We didn't invite her today. I didn't think she was coming." I was shocked. I went through a lot of trouble and asked for favors to get a half day off of work and took an expensive bullet train to get there, so I didn't think that I was going to be met with that as the first words out of her mouth. When my brother heard that, he became angry and turned to his fiancée and said,
"What are you saying? Do you have any idea how much trouble my sister went through to take some time off of work and come all the way here to meet you?"
He was furious, but then her response was, "But that's none of my business. We thought that it was just your parents that were going to be coming over today. Why is she coming over when we didn't even invite her? We didn't approve of this either, did we?" His fiancé's parents were standing there, and when they heard their daughter speaking, their faces looked confused. When I was watching their reaction, I could tell that they were also not expecting me. And I later found out that her parents were told that because I was so busy, I wasn't going to be able to attend that day. Standing there outside of the house, my brother and his fiancée started to get into an argument, and both her parents and my parents were confused as to what was happening, and as soon as we had arrived, the entire situation was chaos. I later found out that the reason behind Karen's attitude, although it was an excuse, it turns out that she had an older sister and the two of them didn't get along at all. On the other hand, my little brother and I got along pretty well. Ever since we were little kids, both of our parents were working full-time, so I was usually left in charge of looking after my brother. And that's why, even after we both became working adults and I moved out, we would go out to eat together or go shopping together multiple times a year, and we remained close even in adulthood. I mean, it was mostly to buy gifts for days like Mother's Day or Father's Day or presents for our parents' birthdays, but generally speaking, we got along well. And it seems that his fiancée was jealous of me, and she just wanted to get rid of me from Kevin's life. Even though I was his older sister, she probably just didn't like to see my brother being nice to another woman. It was so ridiculous, but it's not like my brother and I were ever all over each other. We were just normal siblings. And neither my brother nor I were the type of people to love our siblings more than our romantic partners, so that made it all the more weird. However, when it came to this instance, my brother knew how much trouble I went through to get the day off for work and to travel all the way to this town. And the fact that his fiancée chose to say those words to me as soon as I arrived, he was angry at how rude she was right off the bat. This was the situation that we walked into, but I had already taken the day off of work and had already traveled all that way and was right in front of their house. So the parents invited me into the house, but of course, they didn't know that I was coming and hadn't planned for me to be there, so there was one portion of food missing. They did call the restaurant to see if the restaurant would be able to prepare one more portion, but because it was the holiday week, they were way too busy and there was no way they would be able to accommodate that. And not only that, but when we got to the dining room and tried to sit down at the table, there weren't enough chairs, so our entire family was at a loss for what to do. I was starting to get irritated and fed up with this, so I told them that I would just stand and that they could all start eating their food without me. But then Kevin said that even though I had gone through all this trouble to be there, he wasn't going to let me do that, so he offered to stand instead and offered to give me his food. But seeing that, it only irritated his fiancé more, and she got up and said, "What the hell? Just because you feel so sorry for yourself, you want your little brother to cheer you up? Seriously, that's so sad. I feel so sorry for you." No, actually, that's not my intention at all, but it seems that because of some strange misunderstanding on your end, there's not enough seats for all of us, and so I was just saying that as the outsider here, I would stand and let you all eat. I mean, in the first place, I didn't say a word about inviting you here anyway, so why don't you hurry up and leave? We don't need you here anyway. You're not invited, and I don't think you're part of the family. Right after she said that, suddenly Kevin's fiancé grabbed her glass of water and she tried to throw it all over me. But Kevin was standing between us and saw that, so he got up and defended me. Instead, Kevin was the one that got soaked with the water. What the hell, Kevin? Why are you defending your big sister? She's the one that said she's going to stand, so you should just let her do it as she wants. It's not like she was invited anyway. We're about to talk about our wedding between the families, and that's none of this woman's business. Just hurry up and make her leave. She wasn't invited. When she said that, it was a given, but Kevin was furious. He knew the effort I made to be there, and even my parents were on the verge of losing their temper seeing their daughter being treated like this by Kevin's fiancé. But this time, Kevin's fiancé's parents spoke up. But they were getting into an argument with each other, blaming the other for not confirming the numbers for the gathering and for not asking whether I would be attending or not. The whole situation had turned into chaos, and Kevin realized that in this situation, there was no way that we would be able to talk about the wedding, so our family decided to leave. And of course, my brother was on our side, and he was going to leave with us as well, but his fiancée tried to cling to him and tried to stop him. She started crying. Please, Kevin, why are you trying to leave? The only person that needs to be leaving is that woman. This is about us, and we need to make some big decisions about our wedding together. She was trying to keep him there, but my brother turned around and looked at her like he was looking at a pile of trash. He brushed her off and he walked out the door with us, and we all left. Inside of the bullet train on our way home, everybody was silent, not knowing what to make of the situation. But as soon as we got home, my brother got down on his knees to apologize, mainly to me, and my parents turned to him and told him that he really should rethink getting married to that girl. But I was so irritated and so exhausted from holding in all my anger that day that I didn't have anything to say. Over the next few days and throughout the public holiday, Kevin's ex-fiancée started showing up at our door unannounced and also making multiple phone calls to the house. And even her parents were joining in, demanding that there was no need for the two young people who were in love to have to break up. And they started saying that I was the one that was in the wrong because I showed up unannounced to the family gathering. But when they heard that, it only angered my parents and my little brother even more, and they turned to his ex-fiancée. They told her whose fault it was that all of this was happening, and they were yelling at his ex-fiancée that she was the root of the cause of all of this. And the reason why she was constantly calling us was because apparently my little brother had told her that he wanted to call off the engagement and that he wasn't going to ever get married to her. Somehow Karen had gotten my phone number, and I had multiple voicemails from her saying that all of this was happening because it was my fault. And then she started saying that I need to take responsibility for it and pay her a settlement fee. None of it made sense, and I was at a loss for words. I just handed my phone over to my brother and showed him the voicemails, and I overheard him on the phone yelling at her. That was my very first time meeting my brother's fiancé, and the first time that I saw him this serious about a girl. but to be honest, I was more shocked that my little brother had even considered marrying someone that was this rude and selfish. According to my brother, she had always loved him more than he loved her, and she was the one that pursued the marriage. And as a result of that, she was so obsessed with him that she wanted to get rid of anybody that was close to Kevin or any woman that he was kind to, even if it was his older sister. But his fiancé wasn't going to give up, and she wanted to do whatever it took to try to get Kevin to reconsider the marriage. He showed up at our family house crying and begging and screaming, and so my parents had to call the police on her. Both my parents and my little brother said that it was the worst public holiday of their lives. As for my little brother, he said that the moment we arrived at that family gathering and she said those awful words to me at the very beginning, he said that his feelings toward the marriage had already gone way down. But even still, he said that he tried to forgive her, but the moment she tried to throw water on me, he knew then that there was no turning back. When I got back home, I was so busy with work and working a lot of overtime that I was saved in some way, but I couldn't help but sigh at my brother choosing that woman to marry. When I first heard that my one and only sibling was going to be getting married, I was really happy. But ever since we got home, I only see my brother apologizing to me. And after that, in the end, my brother's engagement was called off. I didn't know this at the time, but my little brother had gone by himself to her family house, and he begged her parents to call off the engagement and that they would break up. On top of that, they hadn't decided on a venue or anything like that, and yet after inviting us over, she had been so horrible to me, and she kept coming after us or showing up unannounced to our house, and so he ended up being able to sue her for the trouble that she caused. Later, my brother used the money that he got from her, and as an apology to me, he gifted me a brand name purse that I had wanted for a long time. As for his ex-fiancée, she was yelled at by her parents that she was the one to blame for all of this, and apparently they collected the full amount for the food that day from their daughter. But she was barely working and didn't have enough money, so I heard that she had to add extra work and is having to go in early morning and work until late at night, but she did this all to herself. But I am truly glad that in the end they didn't get married. This time, it's just so happened that I tried to participate in the dinner party and we found out her true nature. But if this had come to light after they got married, I think it would have turned into even more trouble. When I think about that, I did experience a pretty awful gathering, but it's good that we were able to realize her real self before it was too late. And with this, Kevin no longer had a partner, but I have a feeling that for my kind little brother, I'm sure he'll be able to find someone good soon.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.